Welcome back. Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And I am here with somebody that has an offering that I already have a predisposition to liking in the first place. I'm talking about bringing in the culture of something that's near and dear to the veins of so many Detroiters, that music. And I'm talking about that soul and having a stage and a venue for that platform and artists of today. So, as much as you love all of the artists, that you would fan out over, that, make their way to the Aretha every summer. But it's a lot of artists even today, right now, in the city of Detroit and surrounding areas that are adding so much to the stages. But one of the biggest things as a person that has hit these stages is it's not a lot of stages in Detroit to hit. So it's so many great performers. And the talent continues to come when we think of DSA, and not just DSA, but like even all the other schools. I mean, I'm from Northwestern. We know the Northwestern's relationship historically to Motown, even going over to Ray Parker Jr., shout out. It exists, but stages are needed. The number one thing that people say when they're from here, why they go to LA, why they go to Miami, why they go to New York, why they go to Paris, why they have to go to so many places not in Detroit to perform their talents is because it's not enough stages in Detroit. And not only is his brother bringing the stage, he's bringing the stage to a neighborhood. So it's not like your average stage. This is not going to be a stage far out. It's going to be right in the heart of the city. For people that live on the west side, in that district not far from Rosedale Park and even further west, they got footing distance over that way.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So, Mr. Jay Williams, how are you doing today?
Peace, brother. I'm doing very well. How about you?
Oh man, all is well, all is well. So our connection kind of starts through an interesting connection through Devon of saying, hey, I want to do a 50th birthday event where Devin the Dude needs to come, but we need lighting, we need a stage, we need sound, we want the whole thing. And I'm like, okay, where is this gonna be at? And she was like, it's gonna be at this place like off Grand River. Um, it ain't that far from where the vegan restaurant is. I'm like, yeah, I'm familiar with that. So it's over there. Walk into this venue. I've been in there before.
Hmm.
The time I was in there before, I think it was a whole different get down. It was like a birthday party for Tanae. Shout out Tanae. And I'm like, okay, we can get something like that in there. And then she introduces me to you. So Jay, this whole idea in this venue right in the community, what was the push?
Oh man, you hit on so many different things that I think are the push of it. The neighborhood push of it. There's a lot of things we're going to do that's going to represent the diaspora in this project. So it's a big push. I like to call Miss Eva's Detroit. It's a luxury underground Harlem Renaissance inspired speakeasy, and we're going to feature three main things there. Number one, we're going to have live music experiences on special nights. We're going to have some live music experiences that would remind folks of a time where Detroit was the spot where people came to experience good quality, world class musicianship in an intimate venue in a neighborhood. So we're going to do some of that. And we have a really, really incredible and exciting drink menu that we're really excited to share with folks. That's the second thing we're going to do. Our drinks are inspired by the African diaspora and Black culture, really reminding folks that a lot of American cuisine and a lot of the things that we come to know and love in this country were inspired, actually created through the contributions of enslaved Africans who came here, brought seeds and plants and ingredients and things in their hair. Women would bring them in their hair. They were grown in hidden gardens in Louisiana and other places, and those really became the foundations of some
Right,
of the American cuisine.
hold on, Jay.
Yo,
You
yo,
going Henry Louis Gates on
let's
me.
go.
Right, you coming with it.
Let's go.
Coming with the
Let's
info.
go. Yeah,
All right. I'm with you.
yeah.
All right. So first, when you talk about some of those herbs and some of those things, what Detroit is different is really known for. I don't know if y'all know that, but collard greens were a part of that
Yeah,
pilgrimage in that Mayafa,
absolutely.
as the diaspora people say, of the Middle Passage or the stolen way of getting here.
Yep.
So collards are a part of that, and so many other traditions too.
Mhm.
But you also spoke to the Harlem Renaissance,
Yeah,
which that's big.
yeah,
And I don't know if people recognize the relationship between what already existed within the Harlem Renaissance and so much of Detroit already when
yeah,
we think of the Black Eden and Idlewild, where I was at this weekend. Like the Madam C.J. Walker's influence there and the stories of Sammy Davis Jr. and just Dinah Washington and Dick Night Train Lane. That was a Lions player and everything. And what they would pour in with their friends, of Sarah Vaughan and so many others. Like it was already such a close relationship with these Detroiters that connected to that culture and music.
yeah,
And I just want to lighten that up
yeah,
into what you're adding.
yeah,
And you're also going to add even a further lens of not just your general drink menu,
yeah,
and you're gonna have some different takes on it.
yeah.
So I definitely want to start this by saying, before I get to my classic Detroit is different question, um, what was the peak of you saying, okay, I think this offering would be something to place right here in the neighborhood of Grand River?
Yeah, so Grandmont Rosedale, the neighborhood that we're going to be in, as you said, our spot is going to be on Grand River, just east of Evergreen. It's right next to the Huntington Bank. It is really in close vicinity to the vegan spot that's there. And Grandmont Rosedale has been known to have some incredible Detroiters who lived right there in that neighborhood. It was a spot where we had some celebrities, we had some politicians, we had some lawyers, we had other people who stayed and lived in that neighborhood. I grew up in that neighborhood,
Mm,
to be honest about it. And one of the things that I remember growing up in the 80s is that that community had everything that we needed. There was a dentist office, there was, restaurants, and there were grocery stores and things like that that were just right there in the neighborhood. But as time has just kind of gone on, those things have kind of dissipated a little bit. And so there's a movement happening on that Grand River corridor with some really, really dope spots. We know that Rose is down there with our good friend Charity Dean. She has that spot on Grand River. You talked about the vegan spot that's there. There's a juicery that's next door there, a bookstore. Like they're really, really building out a commercial corridor that is going to be something to be proud of. And we're just really excited about bringing Miss Eva's to have some entertainment options for folks in that neighborhood too, to just round out folks in Detroit living in these neighborhood-based economies that used to exist strong back in the day.
all right, so now we're gonna get right into the classic Detroit is different. You and your peoples.
Yeah,
What's the Detroit story? How many generations deep are you a Detroiter?
yeah.
What brought them peoples here?
Yeah. So this venue is called Miss Eva's Detroit,
Mm,
and it's named after my grandmother.
okay.
My grandmother, she came to Detroit in the 1940s, early 1940s,
Mm.
from Gadsden, Alabama.
Where at?
Gadsden, Alabama.
Where is Gadsden, Alabama?
So it's about an hour north of Birmingham. It's
Okay,
about an hour
okay.
north of Birmingham, and she came here to Detroit in search of American Dream.
Mm.
My grandfather, her husband, he came to Detroit much earlier in the 1920s from Jackson, Tennessee.
Jackson, Tennessee. Now,
Jackson,
where
Tennessee.
is Jackson,
Jackson,
Tennessee?
Tennessee is I think it's a little bit closer to Memphis. It's about maybe
Okay,
an hour or two from Memphis, but
okay.
Jackson, Tennessee, and his family they were sharecroppers. My grandfather was born in 1904.
Mm,
And he came to Detroit in the 1920s for the same thing. And him and my grandmother met. They met in the 1940s and got married and started a family. Really, actually, not too far from here. They were in Northwestern High School, Northwest Goldberg
hey,
community.
I'm a coat. For all coats, we love.
I love
Okay.
it. I love it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where the that's kind of where the genesis for Detroit began. Is kind of with them, and my grandmother and grandfather, they were incredible people. They were some of the first entrepreneurs that I knew. I mean, you said you got a spot in Idlewild. My grandmother owned a restaurant in Idlewild. It was called Miss Eva Shrimp a Go Go,
Mm,
and her sister and her brother-in-law owned Polk's Roller Rink,
mm,
really, really famous roller rink there in Idlewild. So they were some of the first entrepreneurs that my family had ever known. They rented out houses to folks and did a lot of entrepreneurial ventures. But the thing that I remember the most is going over to their house. And on weekends, Friday nights, Saturday nights, people would just flood over to their house. They crank up the music. Flowing whiskey would be flowing around. Smell of cigarette smoke would be in the air. Like it would just be an incredible time where folks from the community would come to their home. and have a really, really good house party. And so that was
Mhm.
another part of this, was putting that together in that all in one concept, just having a spot that represents the diaspora with some good drinks, a spot that highlights Detroit's musical history and heritage with the music, and doing it in a spot that is reminiscent of those house parties that we had at Grandma's house.
I like it. I like it. As they say, that's the red light,
Let's go.
red front porch. So like you driving down the street and then the
Yes.
house with the red light
Yes.
on the front porch, it's like
Yes.
that's the house
That's the
party.
spot. That's
That's
the
where we
spot.
going. And it's like if you were to buy a house probably more in like the 90s, maybe early 2000s,
Hmm.
definitely in the 80s, you
Hmm.
see whole basements like with bars
Right.
and interesting like artwork and stuff like that, like all the black velvet art and stuff. It's like,
Yep.
okay, what was they doing down here? Listening to records
Absolutely.
and having some fun, bringing some people over, probably playing cards and telling
Absolutely.
stories,
Absolutely.
and building more of that rapport. This is similar to the project of restoring the Bluebird Inn,
Hmm. Hmm.
and the work that's happening over there. So I hear this story, and I definitely see like some of that same synergy,
Yeah.
in that energy.
Yeah.
And I don't have a place up there, but I was at Petty Propolis for
Hmm.
Idlewild, and seeing what Idlewild has been
Yeah.
for our people and the story of it, and what Black Eden is as that vacation spot, and knowing that your family even had tentacles that touched to
Yeah.
that, definitely goes into like knowing the other affluent folks, because you know it's not a lot of everyday people,
That's right.
but people that do everyday things. So, like a lot of the judges, a lot of the entertainers, a lot of the performers, and business people of the time would look to vacation and have their getaway in
Hmm.
Idlewild
Hmm.
as a welcoming space for Black folks, because so much of the design of this nation is in the premise of looking past a lot of the racism
Yeah.
and systemic racism that always is entrenched in this American
Yeah.
fabric,
Yeah.
and us finding the resilience to do things creatively, entrepreneurially, and institutionally is something that speaks into our story.
Yeah, and the culture was really, really prevalent there in Idlewild. It was
Mm,
very prevalent. So I talked a little bit about Polk's roller rink that my grandmother's sister and brother-in-law owned. Right across the street from that was Paradise Club, and all different sorts of types of acts came through that spot. Back in the day we had Ella and Duke, like they frequented those places, and the culture was really, really prevalent in there. And so yeah, Detroit, Michigan, like this whole area is just like rich with all of this history and heritage. But we need to have spots that continue that legacy, and that's really another one of the founding pillars with Miss Eva Detroit is we don't want to be hot for a minute and then go away. Right, we want to be something that's going to live on forever, where your children and your children's children and everybody will continue to talk about Miss Eva's for years to come,
mm.
and really, really be a staple in Detroit history.
So with that, you spoke a little bit on that northwestern neighborhood. What was the neighborhood that they moved in, or do you remember most from your grandparents staying?
Yeah, so they moved over on Breckenridge. That was kind of where they started.
Mhm.
And actually, when we actually one of the drinks on the menu is called the Breckenridge, but
Okay,
we'll get to
okay.
that in a minute. But then they moved over to Oregon, right off of Jeffries Freeway, a couple streets off of the 96 freeway,
Mm.
and that's kind of the spot. That place on Oregon was the
That
spot
you
where,
remember
yeah,
most.
yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of people kinda don't put the 2 and 2 together, because so many people talk about Black Bottom and
Mm-hmm.
the freeway being
Mm-hmm.
built there that,
Mm-hmm.
tore apart a Black community. It was another almost just as large Black community that was torn apart through what 96 ended up becoming built, in that community, just knowing Northwestern, hence you got the old Northwestern that, shout out, I was the president of the alumni for a while. So the old Northwestern and the new building, but a lot of stuff changed. And really at that point in time, Northwestern was the northwest point of Detroit, period.
Right.
Before Detroit expanded. And that was one of the places where Black people could live before that freeway destructed, and relocated. a lot of people in communities too. So just knowing that your family kind of has those ties to that. So I'm guessing that would lead. I don't know if this is maternal side. Is that where your mom grew
Yep.
up or your dad? Okay,
Yeah.
so in that community.
Yeah.
All right, and then from that, your mom. What was your mom's path?
Yeah, so, yeah, my mom grew up in that neighborhood. She went to Chatsey,
Mm.
and she went to Chatsey for middle school,
Hmm.
and then she went to Cass Tech
Okay.
for high school. My uncle, who's he's really really a big part of this as well. He went to Northwestern,
Mm.
and then he went on and did some amazing things. He became he's an educator. He was an assistant principal at Cass Tech and a
Okay.
principal at multiple schools around DPS. My mother, she is just an incredible is another incredible woman. I did name this venue after my grandmother, Miss Eva, because of who she was in the community and how people really, really gravitated to her. But my mother is just an absolutely incredible person as well. She raised a family. I have five brothers and sisters. It's six of us. She raised all of us up. Everybody in my family is doing well, doing successful things. And she is just a brilliant mind. She went to Eastern Michigan University,
Okay.
got her degree in child psychology.
Mm.
Yeah, her and my father, who was an engineer, raised us in Rosedale Park. And Now we get a chance to come back to the place where I was raised to put this spot here to honor all of those things and bring all those things together.
So let's talk a little bit about what that was like in your time. You touched on it, like 80s Rosedale Park. So mother in child psychology and father in engineering. What was Rosedale Park like? What do you remember just that neighborhood as a child?
Yeah, Rosedale Park was dope. I mean, one of the things that I remember the most was we had the most fun block parties, right?
Mm.
We used to close down the streets. I think Will Smith said, "Pop the water plug," right? Like, I mean, those type of things were incredibly fun to do. And the neighborhood had a lot of things that were there for us to be able to enjoy. So we didn't really venture that much, outside unless we were vacationing. We didn't need to venture that much outside
Mm.
of our community to get the things that we needed. My mother was educated as a child psychologist, but she was a homemaker. She stayed at home and raised the kids.
So she was able to apply what she learned on the children at the house.
That's right. She
It was
applied that.
like it was like she was using psychology of like, "Hey, I want some more Kool-Aid." And it was like, "All right, do you really want some
Do
more
you really?
Kool-Aid?" And it's like, "Damn, I don't know. I
I
gotta think
guess I
about
don't.
this."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, her and my father, I mean, they did an incredible job.
Uh-huh.
My father passed away in
Mm.
2019,
Rest
but
in peace.
yes, rest in peace. But my mother still lives in the same house that we grew up in over on Ashton.
Mm.
And Her and my sister still live there, and we love the roots of that place.
And then also when I think about that community, it's other things that stand out culturally, like you say. You know, what I mean, so many things like between the donut shop. I want to say like I know this is like real old school for anybody that's watching this young. It was this place called Blockbuster that used to exist, and it seems
Yes,
like
yes.
you would go rent movies. You didn't always have to like be able to just go to a
Netflix.
device
Yeah,
with the application
yeah,
and watch a movie like Netflix or Tubi or whatever. But you would rent movies, and it seems like Rosedale Park had like the first blockbuster that
yes,
I really remember going to.
yes.
And it seemed like everybody from Rosedale Park, because my friend Jonathan Branham, and shout out to his family, his mom, Judge Deborah Thomas, and everything, because we could just walk, even though it seemed like everybody else in Rosedale Park would have like all the video games we want to rent. It's like, we want it.
Not there,
Mm.
not there.
It's like it's not happening.
Yeah, no, that Blockbuster was fire. I mean, that Blockbuster was fire. Yeah, right there on Grand River and Finkel.
Mhm.
That was definitely a spot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
between the Blockbuster, the donut shop,
yeah,
um, what else do I remember in Rosedale Park? Just going over Jonathan's house, like you say, it was a lot of other kids, kids
yeah,
of people. It was definitely one of the one of the communities, like you say, it felt walkable.
yeah,
As people
yeah,
talk about like
yeah,
getting back to walkable communities,
yeah.
um, and having that, are you still connected to like a lot of your friends, the kids that were neighbors from that neighborhood now?
Yeah, yeah, I do connect with some friends. I mean, some friends through through work and secular ventures. I know some folks
Mhm.
who, who grew up in the community. Everybody has a love for it. One of the things that you mentioned too, when you talk about walkability, was Redford High School. Like Redford High School was also, it wasn't just a high school, right? It had a full track, had tennis courts. It had stuff that folks could be able to go in and enjoy. So like, yeah, there was a ton of things that were happening in that neighborhood that was just a really really dope spot that we need to continue to build up. As the city resurges, and the neighborhoods also should be a part of that resurgence as well.
Yeah, and that was gonna be one of the other things I was gonna bring up because Redford at one point in time, it was a school that is no longer not just not open, but it's no
Not there.
longer there. But it stands at the Mire. You'll see the plaque about Redford, but Redford's legacy in a lot of different things. If you were watching high school basketball in the late '90s, you
Mhm.
were watching some Redford and Coach Mack and all of those people, and just the energy connected to Redford. So that kind of goes to your school journey.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, my family, my brothers and sisters went to Redford.
Mm.
I elected to go to Cass Tech. My brothers and
Ah,
sisters did go to Redford.
okay.
Yeah, it was just a really, really
Mhm.
a good. I think it was a good school. I mean, like my sister, she took up some advanced mathematics classes there. My brother, he was into career technical ed, so
Mm.
he bussed over to Randolph and learned HVAC.
Mhm.
He's in the trades as it stands today. So
Mhm.
yeah, Redford was a really really good staple there in the neighborhood as well for sure.
Why you choose Cass?
You know, I think part of me kind of feels like there was a little bit of destiny in there. Like
Oh man,
it was
it's like all these CT people are like,
yo.
yes, I told you. And people at home when it went to Redford, like, what are you saying?
Yeah, I
You
mean,
wasn't built for red.
right, right, right. No, it. I think they're all, like this. Uh, the choice schools, the education, the schools that folks need to get tested to go into, and then the other schools, like they're all they all do something different. They all
Mhm.
have something that people gravitated to. I was into drafting. I like to draw, right? And
Mm.
so Cass Tech had that, right? So that
Mhm.
was one of the things that drew me there to that school. Retford had things like I said. My sister was into mathematics, so she was able to get that. I had another sister who went to Henry Ford. She was interested in some things in the medical field, right? So like all the schools had something different that folks could gravitate towards, and whether you went to Cass or whether you went to Rennie or whether you went to Redford or whether you went to Cooley, or whether you went to Southwestern and played ball, like it's something for everybody. That's another reason why I think Detroit is really really dope. It doesn't really matter what school you go to, right? They all have something that somebody could gravitate to that could take them to that next level in life.
Well, I'm not gonna hold you up. As a
Yeah.
person that was a Northwestern alumni
Oh, yeah.
president,
Yeah.
and I'm NO for forever, and I'm big on like I think a good school is all dependent on who that kid's personality
For
is.
sure.
Because I started at King, but that nerd program or MSAT,
Yeah.
Math,
Yeah.
Science, and Applied Technology, that just wasn't really
Yeah.
riding with me.
Yeah.
Whereas Northwestern, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not going to be that far of where things go.
Yeah.
But I think that schools match the personality of who the student
Yeah.
is, and within that, though, I can say this: the majority of people that I meet as I travel or talk or do anything, I would say if they're black and from Detroit, it's probably a 2 out of 3 chance they did go to Task Tech.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of it is also the legacy, the energy,
Yeah.
and the pride that's poured into the cast technicians. Because there are many cast technicians that are, I'm probably not gonna run into per se,
Mhm.
but even our friend Tristan. Shout out to Tristan Fazekis with all of the Tubi movies and stuff. And it's like, yeah, he went to CT too. At one point in time, that was our guy, like in our crew. And it can be from Tristan to so many others. The probability of a person going to Cast Tech,
Yeah.
if they're black and they're in Detroit
Yeah.
and they travel to someplace else
Yeah.
and they're doing something of any like, do you know this person?
Yeah.
I would say the chances will be very high. So, us that go to like the neighborhood schools, we have a different connection. When you meet somebody that went to Cooley, it's like, you went to Cooley. It's like, yeah, there we go. Shout out Regina and Amber and so many other people, or like Southeastern and things like that, because it's just a different feel. Because I believe that the resources pouring into CAS and the idea of CAS and how parents look at what CAS is, it's a different type of standard. Like, I mean, even the first day, like as they say, like Mr. Cohen saying, like, look at the person to the left of you, look
Look
at the
first to
person
the
to the
right.
right of
Yeah,
you. Guess
yeah, yeah.
what? They
Oh,
ain't
they're
gonna
not gonna
be
be
here.
here. Yeah, yeah. No,
You
for
know,
sure.
so that's a different, that is not the speech you will get at Northwestern. It'll
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like,
yeah. But like, I mean, the schools that we have are dope at what they do.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm reminded of Mumford. Like,
Oh yeah, the
all the
Mustangs.
yeah, all the dope folks who came out of Mumford. I mean, when you look at the gospel, what's happening in the gospel music industry, a lot of the some of the faith leaders that we have, a lot of those folks went to Mumford. Like, so it's like, I think each one has its own identity. I
Definitely.
think each one has its own identity.
But I do think that Cass Tech has something poured
For
into
sure,
it
for sure.
that definitely adds to it. And that's why I was gonna ask you, what was your CT experience like?
Yeah, yeah. So CT was fun. I think what they instilled in me was just like a really, really strong work ethic. And I think they also instilled in me, just to be a learner, like a lifelong learner, right? So I was, like I said before, I was in the drafting. I like to draw, so I was in the drafting and things like that. But as I had English teachers, I had math teachers, I had all different sorts of type of other teachers. I had a special teacher who did creative writing, who taught helped me tap into my creative side. I think they just helped me become a lifelong learner.
Did were you connected to drafting through like your father working in engineering?
Yeah.
What was the allure in your mind? Because it's also so tough that we go up to ninth graders and say, "What do you want to be in life?" It's like I don't know,
Yeah.
like I don't know, a superhero.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that definitely came from my dad. My dad
Okay.
my dad would come home with blueprints, and I just
Mm,
thought that was just incredible. I would see those
mm,
blueprints, and I would think they were incredible. So I would ask him and talk to him about that a lot. When I came out of 8th grade and was trying to decide what high school I wanted to go to,
mhm,
I spent the summer, Randolph Career Tech, shout out to Randolph for
mm.
sure, had a summer program.
Okay.
And then I took drafting there at that summer program. And
Wow.
when I took that program, I'm like, I really, really, really want to do that. And so that was really a lot of the impetus for Cass Tech as well, because they had that program. So
Okay.
since I tested and was accepted into it, and I saw that program there, I'm like, yep,
That's where I want
that's
to
that's
go.
the spot I want to be in.
So in that drafting, after cast, did you continue in that field? What was the take? Because also, I think if people don't know this, for the people outside of the city of Detroit, like drafting, and he spoke to like vocational schools and
Yep.
Randolph, like the relationship between the industry of the big three, at one point, the big four automakers and Detroit Public Schools were so entrenched that the programming was not just to get people to work the line, but also to work in engineering across the field in many of not just those organizations and businesses, but also the tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers. So like and even me talking like this for people, this is like a Detroit education. Like Detroit is different.
So
As I was telling you, Jay,
good
sometimes I'm
stuff.
talking more than the guest, and this may be a little bit of it, but I want to give people the sauce so they understand it. So you have this big three automakers. General Motors is almost larger than a nation. Ford Motor Company, Chrysler, and at one point in time, American Motors Company, that was owned by Mitt Romney's father, the Romney family. So these big four impacted so much of the way of Detroit existing. Like the reason we don't have public transportation, really, it is a bus system, but we don't have mass transit is, I think, directly connected to that. The reason why freeways are first here in the city of Detroit and they exist so much, that's because of that and the traffic flow of it. And also the institutions and schools are built on basically creating people to work in these plants, as a lot of cities are even set up like that. So a direct corporation would be like a Ford. A tier 2 supplier would be like someone that exclusively makes, I don't know, like something that goes into a car connected to Ford, and it goes into all of this engineering. So you'll have like 16-year-olds learning how to um take the probability and statistics of like the safety of this door and do engineering testing and stress testing at 16.
Yeah.
And that may not be happening in your school at 16 in Texas, Florida, or Arizona, because it's not going to be a relationship that is built off of one industry feeding into one thing specific. The same way a lot of the Atlanta schools, feed into like what's happening in Hartsville International Airport, you know, and can work on planes, cars here. So I just want to
Yeah.
frame that so people kind of know
Yeah.
that is entrenched
Yeah.
into like systems
Yeah. The
here.
the Career Technical Education Center or system here in Detroit is really, really strong. There's Randolph, and there's multiple, right?
It's
So there's
Randolph,
Randolph.
and then you got Bright Hop,
Yeah.
Go Lightly.
Yeah.
At one point in time, like a lot of the vocational schools, definitely through the run of maybe about a lot of things transitioning with the school takeover, changed a lot of things.
Yeah.
But pre-school takeover,
Yeah.
yeah, that was like a big,
Yeah.
almost like half the school would
Yeah.
be going to a
Yeah.
vocational school
Yeah. Yeah.
in the day or in the afternoon, depending upon what block you pick.
Yeah, and they all did something different. So at Randolph, you can get skilled trade, construction type stuff, carpentry, plumbing, things of that nature. They had drafting there as well. At at Brighthop School, they had auto, so
Mhm.
you could learn a little bit about the auto industry. You could learn about the auto service, auto repair. Um, they had culinary. They also had cosmetology there
Cosmetology,
at
yep.
Brighthop. And then at Go Lightly, they're stepping up and doing advanced manufacturing right now, in partnership with Stellantis Chrysler. So they're stepping that one up. And then we can't forget about Davis Aerospace. Davis
Yeah.
Aerospace was another dope one, right? And so they, help folks in aviation, teach students about aviation and airplanes and things like that. So there was something all around the city for folks, to your point, to learn how to be a successful part of the community and help build the community and get good work and make good money while doing it.
So after Cass, where do you go?
Yeah, so I went to work. I went to work right after Cass.
And see, also, so people know, like that's why the connection is like right there.
Yeah,
You can have that opportunity to be an engineer
yeah,
right after high
out of
school.
high school, right out of high
Mhm.
school. So I went right out of high school to go work for it's maybe a blast from the past, but Michigan Consolidated Gas Company, MishCon.
Mm.
I went to go work directly for them, and I worked there for about 27, 28 years.
Wait, time out,
Yeah,
time out,
yeah,
time out. All right, so you went from young buck
yeah.
to the guy that was training everybody.
That's right. That's right.
All
That's
right,
right.
what was first off, like, what was that cultural shift? Because I often think that, like, when we talk about variations, we definitely talk for the differences in gender. We also talk the differences definitely in race.
Hmm.
Uh, but we sometimes don't talk about those differences in age.
Yeah.
What was it like being so young, stepping into like, working alongside like, oh, my man got like a whole wife and kids.
That's
You know what
right.
I'm saying?
That's right.
I'm trying to hang out on the weekend.
That's right. I like.
He's like, yeah, we gotta
They're going up to their place up north
yeah,
so they
exactly.
can
We
hang
got a
out for the
plan
weekend.
for
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So it's
yeah.
like,
No,
what was that like?
half the time I felt like a mascot. You know what I
Mm,
mean? But yeah, especially being black. You know what I mean? Because
mm,
I was, one of the very few black folks who worked in that field,
mm.
especially for a company as large as Mishcon at that time. But my mom and my dad, they just really, really instilled, some really great things within me, and I just put my nose to the grindstone and went to work. So I worked there. I made some good strides, and once I learned a little bit more about myself and what I wanted to do, I put myself. Went to college, so I went to Eastern Michigan I went to Eastern.
And
Um,
you did this while working.
that's right.
I'm
I did
guessing.
this.
What was it like to because I'm a later college student
Yeah,
too. What
yeah,
was it like managing the flow of work and going to school?
yeah.
And you said a little bit later, what era? Like, are you like late 20s, early 20s? What's happening?
Yeah, I was mid to late 20s when I
Okay.
when I started it.
Hmm.
And the thing that I appreciated the most, especially about Detroit and the school system, was that they gave me that foundation that allowed me to be able to go to work. So when I went to college, I had an employer who paid for it. So I didn't have any college debt when I graduated or anything like that. Company I worked for paid for my college, and so
Hmm.
that was one of the things that really, really I think helped set me to a good pace of success, for what I was doing. But it did come, at expense. I was married. Me and my wife, who's here right now, we had a baby. I was
All right, so now we gotta talk about life
Let's
events. All
go,
right,
let's
so
go.
now we gotta definitely, yes, his wife is in studio.
Yeah,
It's been a couple of times. See, this the professionalism where she's laughing at some things where it's like I want to laugh with her,
yeah,
but I can't,
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
So all right, you're working,
Mm-hmm.
Mishkan.
Mm-hmm.
You got, as they say, like them old school things, like old school arc. It's like, do he got a job?
Mm-hmm.
Do he got a place? And do we believe in God?
That's
Were
it.
that was like that was the
That's the
checklist back
trifecta.
in the day. You know what I'm saying? And it's sad because some of that checklist now it's like everything is like, I don't know. We're working on it. We're
That's right.
working on it.
We get there. We get
So
there.
so so you're there, you're working. And where is the connection? Did you already know her? Like how did this happen in that mix?
Man, Detroit is different. Turns into a relationship podcast. This
It
is like
turns into a life
this is
podcast.
Detroit different after dark, bro. No,
It's a life
I
podcast.
love it. I love it. But no, we work together. So
For
that's
real?
that's kind of
Okay.
where we met.
Okay.
We met there at work,
Okay. So
and
one day it was like, hey, in reality, I ain't gotta ask all these questions. Let me get your number. You know what I'm
it was
saying?
really, it wasn't that easy, but but it was somewhere in that vein. It was
Okay.
somewhere in that vein.
All right.
We connected. I think the first time we talked, I'm surprised we didn't get in trouble. I think the first time we talked for like 3 hours, right
Mm,
there at work,
mm.
and just immediately had a connection. Yeah,
All right. So from there, and then in these life choices,
yeah,
because the reason why it does turn into sometimes relationships of everything, family and everything, because I believe that I'm big in stakeholders,
hmm,
having so many entrepreneurs in my life. Like, and your stakeholders are those people that sometimes we can dismiss as the American ethic is this rugged individualism, as if we do things on our own in a
yeah,
vacuum.
yeah,
Your wife, your children, the people you work with, your friends, they all play a stake in the success of us in our business ventures.
hmm,
If we're going to go back to school,
hmm,
if we're going to pick up, like, I don't know, a new hobby, if we're going to join a band, if we're going to start traveling the world to learn a class, like all of these people play a role. Now, can you do it without their support? Most definitely. But will it have other strains
that's right.
on the functionality of other things? Most definitely. So, getting that input. So that's why I asked about that, because you poured it into that. So now being married with a child and school,
Yeah.
what was that discussion? Can you just share so that people also have that of like, look, I'm thinking that school would be a great option right now for what I want to do with the path, especially if it's being paid for.
Yeah. Yeah.
How was that discussion?
I mean, it really wasn't a discussion. Like it
Mm,
was, I think, we both really wanted to see great things for ourselves,
mm.
and we knew education is the passport for that. It's the passport to that, right? So it really wasn't even a discussion. It was like, yo, I think I'm ready. I know what I want to do now. I think I'm ready to go to school. And it was like, yo, let's go. And it was that quick.
And what was so I'm guessing definitely your mom and your dad were like, yeah, let's
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, they were excited. My mom went to Eastern as well, so
Oh, so she was even like, "You gonna be an eagle just like me."
there you go, there
Uh-huh,
you go.
okay.
So yeah, so we both were technicians, so we both were Eagles. So yeah, it was
So it
really
was
dope.
like a double check. It's like, yo, your siblings was looking around at all this green and white, like, get it out of here.
That's right. That's
Get
right.
out of here.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how and then in that flow, what did you choose to pursue in the school?
Yeah. So I started off in civil engineering.
Mm.
That's kind of where I started. I did that for a few years.
What drew you to that?
Really, it was work. It was kind of the work that I was doing when I was working for Mishcon, now DTE. Yeah, when I was doing that work, I did a lot of work with relationship to underground infrastructure that we had, and how it impacted road projects from the state. When they were rebuilding I-96, there was probably a gas line underground that needed to be adjusted. In order for the construction to happen, so that was kind of the job that I had. Was I was working in that space, and I loved that work. It was really really fun to me. So that's where I started to in the civil engineering space. I ended up finishing my degree in construction management. So I switched from civil engineering to construction management because I got a little bit more tied into the what was happening in the field than being behind the desk. And I think that desk engineering drafting work that I did before helped me to be someone who could help see things be put to the ground and tap into my creative side a little bit more. And so I finished my degree in construction management at Eastern.
Okay. How and in that, I'm guessing that definitely goes
Yeah,
into the work that you were doing
yeah.
and having some ideas and pouring into that. How are you at that point, like looking at stepping back into like, okay, with degree, these are the things I want to do. Was it like a career pivot? And this is some other game you can give those people that know, because I'm such in the entrepreneur world.
Yeah.
How did you take um the education that you got and then apply that into the career sector as you move forward?
Yeah, entitled to entrepreneurship.
Well, not entrepreneurship, into the career you already had. Like, how did, like, because I
Yeah,
just assume it's not like, hey, I got my degree, so you know what I'm saying. Go on and put another 100 stacks on my path. I assume it's not like that. I
yeah.
assume it's other functional. Like, how did that work?
Yeah, yeah. So, I started to look at projects. So again, Michigan Gas Company (DTE), has an incredible amount of infrastructure.
Mhm.
Right, so gas lines, electric lines, there's substations all across the place, compression stations on the gas side, all across our state, so what I was able to do was do some of the lead some of the construction efforts for those. So
Mm.
up to including design, planning, engineering. For those, there needs to be someone who draws up, the infrastructure work that needs to happen, the build of a gas pipeline, the build of an electric line. Like somebody needs to draw that up and design that. I oversaw the design of those things. I oversaw the planning. Someone needs to put it into a scheduling system to schedule it. There was also the asset management piece of it, where someone needs to go into the system and choose the pieces and parts and pipes and all the things that are needed in order to build it. And then there's a construction side of it. After everything's all designed and the materials are already decided what they're going to use, and you need a crew to build it and put it in the ground. And I oversaw the construction work that was happening in the field as well. Then stuff needed to be paid for and closed out, right? So this degree that I got in construction management and project management really helped me, build construction projects from beginning to end for a lot of the major infrastructure projects for Michigan Gas Company (DTE).
All right, so now I'm ready to pivot into the project that you're building out and constructing now.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm sure that some of those same skills go into that.
yeah,
Um, because what I hear for most people, I don't know if people know this explicitly, but I see life as like a series of
yeah,
equations.
yeah,
And everything has a level of variability, but I think anything below a 50% is a variable, and anything above it I consider more of like a constant.
yeah,
People are always variables almost. And you're working with people and crews. Just something as small as like one person shows up 5 minutes late can impact the rest of the work the rest of the week. Cause it's like, well, if they 5 minutes late, then I can be 5 minutes late. And then the project can start 5 minutes later. And then this other person comes on time to be like, I want to leave 5 minutes early. It just,
yeah, yeah.
process and flow. And all of this is taken into account in project management.
Hmm.
So now you're in the space of entrepreneurship. It's different.
Yeah,
That also I think people respect brands differently too. It's like, well, my career's with DTE and all of that stuff. You can pay people the same amount of money, but it's just the brand, maybe even less,
yeah.
is where people kind of respond.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's different, but there's a lot of things that are
That are
transferable.
similar.
There are
Yeah.
so many things. I mean, I think a project manager's number one responsibility is putting all the pieces and parts of a project into one cohesive whole.
Break that down a little bit.
Right. So, you got all the things that you mentioned, whether it's human resources management, people, somebody wants to come into work, whether they're on time or not, and how do you manage that? Or whether or not they want to leave early, and how do you manage that? How do you hire the right folks that you need in order to do the work that you need to do? How do you make sure that the right parts are available at the right time to show up to the right job, to do the right work first, the right time, or I should say, right the first time, right? Like all of those things are parts of what a project manager does is pull all of it in. Whether it's scope, what is the scope that you're doing? Whether it's schedule,
Explain what a
what's the
scope is.
right? So when you're doing a project, the scope is the contract for the job. It's all of the things that you're going to do. It's a detailed outline of everything that you are going to accomplish that needs to be written out, and it needs to be described in detail, and who's responsible for it. When are, what are they responsible for? And then you also have time management, right? So when is this person who's responsible for this scope going to do what they are going to do? And then you have to put measures and metrics and things behind that to make sure that everything is really operating in one cohesive whole. And it's an orchestrate. I mean, I really think of it like an orchestrator. Someone who's going through and just really marionetting something to make sure that that everybody's working toward one accord and toward one common goal. And that's definitely transferable to entrepreneurship.
So I definitely agree. Many of that. So now, Miss Eva's,
Yeah.
when does it become from thought? When does the thought come? When does the okay, I'm putting money down and I'm getting a place.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, the thought really came from wanting to experience Miss Eva's myself,
Mm.
right? So,
It was like in life when Ray's Boom Boom Room
there you
kind
go,
of.
there you
Okay,
go,
there
right,
we go.
right.
All right.
I wanna go to Ray's Boom Boom Room, and
Uh-huh.
I thought that there. So first of all, there are some incredible spots in Detroit to capture good live music. There's some incredible spots, whether you're talking about Baker's, whether you're talking about Cliff Bell's downtown, whether you're talking about Blue Llama out in Ann Arbor or Dirty Dog in Grosse Pointe.
Gross
Like
Point, yeah.
those are some incredible places to catch some live music. And so I frequented those spots, but there was something that was missing, at least for me, in that core of like, I like neo soul. Like if I want to hear some Anthony Hamilton, if I want to hear some Jill Scott, if I want to hear some Erica Badu, if I want to hear some of this dope new age R&B that's out there, if I want to hear some, Snow Allegra or, Ari Lennox or Victoria Monet or Lucky Day, if I want to hear something like that, like where can I go hear that? Not in it from a DJ, but like in a live music spot. And that was really some of the genesis of it. I was like, I want to create that spot, right? Because I want to be a part of it, and I think a lot of people would like to be a part of it too.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where the genesis of the idea came, was just wanting to create a spot that would have all the things that I love as a part of it. And as I started telling people about it, they were like, "Yo, this is dope! Like I want to go there too." And that was when pencil started coming to paper
Okay, it
and
was
money
really
started
like
coming
Ray's
together.
Boom Boom Room then.
Really like Ray. You
Everybody
watched
was
the
like
movie?
seeing a place.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So so now the plans are going.
Yeah.
How does the location on Grand River come to life?
Oh man, so there was an RFP that was put out. So first of all,
That's a request for proposal.
request for proposal. Thank you.
Mhm.
So first of all, shout out to the Michigan Black Business Alliance,
Mhm.
credible organization.
Charity Dean.
Charity Dean,
Mhm.
Kaiwan Bowman, that group is an incredible group. I took this business idea that I had from Miss Eva's to that group, and it was part of one of their classes where I learned how to put together my business plan, where I learned how to do my financial projections, where I learned a lot about marketing and promotions and things like that. They have an incredible program. If you're an entrepreneur in Detroit, I suggest you stop what you're doing right now if you haven't, and check out the Michigan Black Business Association, or I'm sorry, Michigan Black Business Alliance. Check them out right now because they have some incredible programs that can move you forward. But there was this request for proposal put out by Grandmont Rosedale Development Corporation for a building that became available, and the folks from the Michigan Black Business Alliance knew that that proposal was out there and said, "Hey, we got a business who was a part of one of our programs who we think would be a good fit." So I submitted an RFP. I think there were hundreds of applicants for that building, and I was the successful candidate
All right,
through
wait,
multiple
calm
months.
down, my
Yeah.
brother
What's
Jay.
up?
You gotta
What's up?
celebrate something like that, man.
Yeah.
Out of hundreds of people,
Yeah,
because there's
yeah.
a lot of people that I'm telling you, it's probably people driving by. You go after 1 week being open, it's gonna be like, I was gonna put a our people are creative. It's gonna be a nonprofit
Yeah, yeah,
dog washing
yeah.
you'd be like, yeah, exactly, exactly. So I was wondering, can I do that on the weekend?
Yeah.
I'll get back to you.
That's right, that's right.
So yeah, that is
Yeah.
that is successful because also it does two things with
Mhm.
that. As Grandma Rosedale Community Development Corporation has taken more of a hold in that space of business ventures happening. Like I know they have like a show space where you can try out your business. That's where I went to the coloring museum with Sherry Savage and what was done there for a while, and it reopens, but very intentional about the businesses that will be there. So if you already have support, and this is just for any entrepreneur, if you have support of a community organization that's in the place where you want to do business, that's a big check.
Big check.
Now, if that community organization is also like actively looking to see your business thrive, a bigger check.
Yeah.
So that's the other, I'd say, positive about it. You won the bid, but now,
Yeah.
wink, wink, by winning the bid, you kind of already are winning some of the support of the organization and the CDC too.
That's right. That's right. And they do. They want to build that walkable community that you talked about. They want to
Mhm.
build that in Grandmont Rosedale. They're great partners. Grandmont Rosedale Development Corporations. They are a great, great partner, and they want to see that Grand River corridor thrive. They want to see the residents in the residential area, the buildings and the homes thrive. I mean, they are a really, really great organization, and I was really, really happy to partner with them, and become the successful tenant for their building.
Yeah, and it naturally, and also CDCs,
Hmm.
community development corporations, they deal with a lot of the politicians and things like that. So when you get your, I don't know, I mean, city, city, when you get that ordinance or get this person to call or that person to call, you can call that person from that CDC, like, hey, I don't even know what type of inspection this is.
Right.
And then they'll be like, all right, 1 second. Let me call the city council, or let me call the district manager, or let me get some motion going on something that may be overwhelming in you, because I know I'm there. I'm there. I'm talking to you, entrepreneur. I'm talking to you right now.
Hmm.
I know the first thing you thinking is this gonna cost me money and I ain't got no money. Don't do something that can lead to
That's right.
bigger
That's
problems.
right.
So first, congratulations on that
Thank you.
bid in that space.
Thank you.
And with that, what was the feedback that you got from the organization about the buy and about your proposal, about the vision for it all?
Yeah, I think they really bought into the vision, which I was really happy to have with them. They really bought into the vision of having a space for entertainment in the Grandmont Rosedale neighborhood. So, one of the things I think that they were focused on is the capital leak of dollars that are coming out of a place like Grandmont Rosedale that are going into other communities, going to the suburbs, which is nothing wrong with that. If folks want to go to the suburbs to enjoy something, that's perfectly fine to do. But it is an opportunity to like have some of those things right there in your community. And they're looking to solve for that capital leak of dollars that we're going maybe out to the suburbs or maybe out to downtown and say, how come we can't bring some of those things into a walkable community right in the neighborhood that I live in? And so they were focused on that and really gave me good feedback that they think a project like this that would rehash some of those legendary moments that people have, performing music in Detroit in a neighborhood venue. They were looking to rehash some of that and thinking that this concept could really help build some of those things out. So they were all in.
All right, I like it. Now we got to get into the other side of something like this.
Yeah,
Music people,
yeah.
as my marketing firm's creative differences. Music people are artists. Artists are always so abstract in a lot of things.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, if people are a variable, artists may be like a variable to the second power. What was it like connecting to, and what's been your gateway connecting to some of the artists and building some of those relationships been like?
Oh man, I had the great pleasure of meeting this brother, who is going to be the music director for Miss Eva's Detroit. Some Detroiters may be familiar with him. His name is Mike Mumford.
Hmm.
He is a jazz musician. He's a Detroiter. He's been a musician and composer for about 30 years. He has a new album that just dropped about a month ago. It's called The Cloth I'm Cut From. People want to check that out. And he's going to be the music director for Miss Eva. So I met him. He and I connected. I told him about the spot. I told him what I wanted to do, and he's been just a really, really big breath of fresh air to kind of help me connect with these artists to make sure that the artists know that Miss Eva's is here. Miss Eva is looking to book some dope and amazing acts, and so he and I have been building that out. And then also, one of the friends that we connected with is Njia Kai. Mama Ng, I think folks know her from her work in the community. She's been like a big sister, helping provide information on booking acts and who the acts are in Detroit and how to get connected with them. And she's just been a really, really big help to what we're doing there. So yeah, so I got the business side. Mike's really helping me a little bit on the music side. We're really going to pull together something dope for folks to be a part of.
And Mike's legacy stands tall.
Yeah.
Mama and Gia,
Oh yeah.
one of the few two-time Detroit is different guests, stands tall as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
you're working well, and I'm going to introduce you to some folks that I think would
I would
be
love
good
that.
partnership
I
too.
love that.
One's still coming. I think he performing soon too. But Brandon Williams, I think you should definitely connect with
Okay.
B on this.
Okay.
Um, and I could see something that in that pocket because that's not far from his neighborhood. He likes something like
I
that,
love it.
even though B is we gonna work on
I
some
love
stuff.
it.
So the drinks you talked about,
Yeah.
and then the other part of it from the collard green cook off. We love food. What's gonna
Yeah.
be the food? What's gonna be the drink situation?
Yeah, so I'll talk about food first. The spot that I'm in, it's a beautiful spot. It's about 2,000 square feet. We'll be able to get about 75 to maybe 100 people. So think of like a really, really nice, intimate type concert. But we don't have a commercial kitchen in the building. So what we've done is partnered with a local caterer. You guys can check her out on Instagram. She's at RNB Charcuterie.
Mm.
And she does these beautifully amazing charcuterie boards. So we're going to make sure that everybody who has a table there at Miss Eva's will get a custom charcuterie board for them to be able to nibble on.
Mhm.
And then there's a food truck alley that's adjacent to the building. So we'll be asking local caterers who have food trucks to pull up, and showcase some of their food. If anybody's interested in doing that, please hit me up. And that's kind of how we're going to handle food. Um, our drink menu is, I think, really, really special. Like I said before, we are going to look to highlight the diaspora in our menu, and really have drinks that celebrate Black culture and celebrate the contributions that a lot of Africans made to some of the things that we enjoy here in this country.
All right, and I gotta also applaud the fact you got a liquor license too. That is harder to get in Michigan. So I don't know if people know this. It's a cap on the amount of liquor licenses that can be sold in the state of Michigan. And that hasn't been heightened any time. So to buy a liquor license, you need to get one and acquire one from someone that has it. People know the value of this,
Yeah.
and it's different types of liquor licenses. You can't like be like, "Hey, my cousin had a beer and wine shop that was like the size of my basement," and then turn it into like a sports venue. No, it's that's you need a lawyer for stuff like
That's
that.
right.
But
That's
still
right. That's right.
acquiring that,
Yeah.
that's a heck of an applaud too. How did you even go about that?
Yeah, so that is actually still in process. We're still working with the
Okay.
state on the liquor license. We're
Okay.
really, 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 really close. So remember bringing all the pieces and parts into one cohesive whole. This is another one.
Mhm.
So we're really, really close to finishing that up with the state. The previous tenant of the building has had a liquor license, development
Mhm.
type liquor license, which that type of liquor license stays with the building.
Yeah.
And so we're transferring that over to Miss Eva's Detroit. Look to have that done within the next couple of weeks, and we should be rocking and rolling.
That's big. So also for you all buying bars and restaurants, as I'm a Henry Ford community college person, it seems like everybody in my business class wanted a bar and restaurant. That's another part of the hurdle. So you'll buy a bar and a restaurant
Yeah,
in Detroit, and they'll be like, "Yeah, you bought the bar and restaurant. Psh, I ain't selling you my license." So it's like, what type of
yeah,
you
yeah,
learn this type of stuff in business.
yeah.
You learn this type of stuff in
And you
business.
gotta know it. Like you gotta know what you don't know, and you know what I mean, and pull all of that stuff together in a plan. But
Mhm.
back to the drink menu. It's something that
Mhm.
I'm really really excited about. We're going to do some drinks. We'll have some communal drinks there, right, to
Mhm.
kind of like celebrate, to kind of like celebrate the culture there a little bit. We're going to tell stories about ingredients. Like a lot of folks aren't familiar with coffee originating from Africa, so we're going to tell some
Definitely.
stories, about that. We're going to, highlight some seeds that came from from Africa to American soil. I'm just really, really, really excited about the drink menu and sharing that with folks.
And I'm gonna just throw this option to you because it's a big movement in it, the
Hmm.
non-alcoholic beverage too. So
Yeah.
like if you can have options in those types of spirits
Yeah.
and deal with less of some of the other headaches of it, people will love that.
It's a done deal. I definitely need to shout out my wife who's sitting here, Carlita Williams. She has a business that's called Mockery Zero Proof. It
Oh,
is
so you already in the mix.
so
You've
yeah, for
witnessed the
sure.
growth of that industry.
And it's incredible. I mean,
Uh,
so when you go to a lot of these, I shouldn't say a lot, but when you go to some of these establishments and get a mocktail, a lot of it, some what we've seen, a lot of is some heavy syrup, and maybe some soda content. But Carlita creates these incredible drinks that will rival an alcoholic counterpart. You really, really swear that you're drinking a straight up, drink with some alcohol in it, the way that she
Jay,
creates them. So,
I'm telling you, it's a
so
movement.
it's a
The
movement.
same way that like veganism was like
Yeah,
starting. I
yeah,
mean, it existed before for all my vegans that's been vegans for 50 years, but it became more of a cultural trend.
yeah,
I would say maybe about 7, 8 years ago.
yeah.
The same thing with NA because younger people just aren't drinking alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right. That's right. And so Mockery Zero Proof has created a zero proof menu for Miss Eva's Detroit. So you'll be
Mm.
able to come to Miss Eva's and get the same African diaspora based drinks, but in a
I want you to
non-alcoholic
say
form.
that again because that's a heck of a hook for everybody that's thinking, oh man, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get this weight on me, all the sugar in this alcohol. I just started my new diet.
Mhm.
Guess what? Say that again.
You can get the exact same type of drinks in a zero proof form with the same craftsmanship and artistry as you'll have with the African diaspora feel at Miss Eva's Detroit through Mockery Zero Proof.
All right, so we at the end. So I'm gonna give. I want you to give a drop again, and I'm gonna go my classic Detroit is different questions, and we wrapped up. So give the drop again for something that's coming up as an event that people can experience a little bit of this. Let them know.
Yeah. So Miss Eva's Detroit is the name of our venue. You can follow us on Instagram at Miss Eva's Detroit. That's spelled MISSEV like Victor. AS Detroit. You can follow us there on Insta. Our soft launch is scheduled for September the 14th. Really, really excited about it. It's going to be a collaboration between Miss Eva's Detroit and two other businesses around the city. One is Motor City Mimosa, which is popping off in Eastern Market. And another one is the Marina's House, which is popping off in Redford. And we are going to do a collaborative event on September the 14th, where you'll be able to go catch a day party at Marina's, come to Miss Eva's Detroit in the evening, and then on Sunday morning, the next day, go to the Motor City Mimosa for some brunch.
I like it.
What we're doing on the 14th at Miss Eva's is going to be a midnight concert. It's going to be really, really dope. We got a dope lineup that we're excited to tell folks about. Isis DeMille is going to be performing there. Dre Sconey and the Clouds is going to be performing there. Mike Mumford is going to be performing there, and Charity is going to be performing there. So we're really, really excited about that. We're gonna do like a tiny desk, soulful, vibey type thing from midnight to 2 a.m. on September the 14th. The tickets are going to be available. So go to Miss Eva's Detroit on Instagram, and you'll be able to figure out how to connect with that. And from there on out, we're going to have concerts every other weekend until November, when we're going to really,
Wow.
really get into our bag then. So really excited about it. Please connect with me. Artists, please connect with me. Folks who want to check out what we're going to be doing at Miss Eva's, please connect with me. And can't wait to bring this to the community.
I love it. I love it. I love it. September 14th. Get your tickets. And when you say tiny light desk
Yeah,
performance, those were the three of those people were the top
that's
finalists
right.
for Detroit's tiny desk competition.
That's
So
right.
it's like you're not getting
That's right.
his cousin, and no offense to your cousin's
It's
musical
all good.
talents
It's all
either.
good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're getting like premier performers that are
Yeah.
traveling and pour into stages. So when you think of Charity,
Yeah.
Isis, Mike Mumford, and you got the Clouds with Dre Sconey. Oh man, it is a heck of an experience for those people that say to themselves like, "Oh, Detroit don't have this no more. Detroit don't have
Mhm.
that no more." Are you really engaging with some of the talent that still is here and connecting? Because
Yes.
that is a heck of a lineup
Yes.
for a show, and you get to experience something in the community. You said a midnight out concert too. That's cool. That's a
Go.
cool vibe.
Let's go.
You know, y'all stay up late. It's Detroit.
Come on
So,
through. Come
so
on through.
classic Detroit is different questions. Very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
Oh man, my very first car actually is probably my favorite car. I got a 1997 Ford Escort,
Mm.
green with the hatchback.
Mm.
That car lasted me about 300,000 miles. I put a new engine in it after 200,000 because I wanted to keep that
Time
car
out, time
going.
out, time out, time out, time
Yo,
out. Okay.
that was my ride. That was my ride.
Okay. Put new engines in cars.
That's my ride.
Young people do stuff like that.
Did you say Detroit is different? Detroit is different. I wrote that even when I bought a new car, and I had a new car, which I did. I kept that Ford Escort. I kept that Ford Escort for about, man, did I keep that car for 20 years? I kept that car, and it wasn't 20 years, but it was it hit just about 15 before I put that car down.
Oh man. Okay, let's go. Let's go. What was his name?
Carmen.
Okay.
Carmen. Yeah,
Okay.
Carmen. She was green, and it was dope. I loved it. I had a couple friends who wanted me to join the escort club. I didn't do that. The Ford
Hilarious.
Escort car club, I should say.
Hilarious.
And I didn't do that. But yeah, I love that car, man. It got me through. It got me through school. It got me through work. Man, it got me through so many important times in my life. So that's my baby.
This man knew how to drive in some snow.
Thank you. People do not know how good that car was in snow. It was like a truck. I'm telling you. The Ford Escort was fire.
I'm telling you, it's like, and for everybody that wonders about car culture, as I say, it's entrenched in Detroit because Detroit is the only place where you will have a Ford Escort club.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? That is not happening in Miami. It's
That's
like
right.
you got a Ford Escort in Miami back in the day. It was like you have a vehicle. In Detroit, it's like, hey, we meet up on Belle Isle every Saturday at.
That's right. Yep. I was 19 years old, and I rode the car till the doors fell off.
All right. So, second question. You're the DJ at the end of the fireworks. Woodward and Jefferson. You get to play 2 songs. What songs you playing?
Man. So my favorite type of music that I would play, that I like to listen to, is the hip hop Native's Tongue movement. So I think I would definitely drop a Tribe Called Quest song. I think
Gotta pick
maybe
something, man. I
I
can't have.
think
I usually am cool and I'll pick 4 people.
no,
But being a
no.
music person, you
I
gotta pick.
I think I would drop Bonita Applebum. I think I would just
Okay.
kinda I
Okay.
would kinda let that build come up, and then when that bass drop, and just see how everybody responds to that. I think I would do
Okay.
that.
And then the second one.
Oh, man, the second one. So give me the vibe again. I'm on Woodward and Jefferson,
End of the fireworks.
end of the fireworks. So people are gonna be singing. People are going to groove something. I may throw some Shaka Khan and a fire in there. I think maybe the second one. Through the fire. So I may throw that in there. Just to get people grooving.
Okay. All right. So of that, you pick 2. I pick Check the Rhyme.
Check the rhyme.
And then Do What You Feel. I would pick that.
All right.
But and then last question.
Yeah.
You could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
Ooh. If I could rename Woodward after one Detroiter, who would that be and why? I'm going. Um, if I could cheat, can I cheat? If I could cheat, I would name it after Eva Marie Franklin, my grandmother, Miss Eva. Again, this woman was incredible. I didn't get it. We talked a little bit about the venue, but her story is incredible. She's an incredible Detroit. She's an incredible woman who had some roots here in Detroit from Alabama. She was such a staple in the community. She worked for Charles H. Wright when she worked, Dr. Charles H. Wright when she worked, making sure that folks who had good insurance were not being treated unfairly in the hospitals that they were in. So she did that work. Her and my grandfather, like I said, they purchased homes and offered them to people in the community in the need. She was a jazzy woman. She was fly. And she just taught me so much about life. And really is one of the reasons why I am who I am. She gave me my mother. You know what I mean? She gave me my mother. And, my mother is also another incredible woman. I think our legacy and my family's legacy just continues to live through Miss Eva, just in different ways. So yeah, I would name it after Miss Eva for sure.
I like it. Someone else that's usually picked is another person from Alabama that made their way to Detroit, and Coleman Young.
So for
Miss
sure.
Eva, there we go. Thank you so much, Jay.
Appreciate you,
been
brother.
Fun, man.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Thank you. Peace.
Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today